Okay. We'd like to call the meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Anna Sumpico present.
Paul St. Armand present.
Maureen Buffy here.
Aaron Brewster.
And Norma Smith. Okay, has everybody read the minutes from the last meeting? Yes.
Yes.
There's one administrative comment on page 2. Second to last sentence, it says, he said he should have a problem. I think it should not have a problem.
Should
right?
not have.
That was it.
Pretty good.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
So everything else is in order?
Motion to accept the minutes with the minor administrative change.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Old business, Reed School is back on here again. Because of the plexiglass, what's happening with the plexiglass?
So, I got in touch with Alex, across the street, and we're, processing the payment through their normal process. I explained last time that we were going in under the wire with the end of the fiscal year, so there was questions about what's our deadline, what is the process, because they weren't doing the online requisitions, they had to do the paper requisition, it was a thing. Now we're just basically starting anew, going through the regular system as everybody knows it, and that's underway. And
Okay,
I was going back and forth with him through email today, so
And
that
I-
should be squared up.
and who
the
is
next
Alex?
day.
Who is Alex?
He's new in the finance department. He's one of the finance clerks.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So
it's a name I
It's
haven't
underway
heard
now.
before. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so that
question.
should be,
So
it
what,
will be finished. I'm where,
they mail it out to Coventry Glass, is that?
Yeah,
that's the- Yeah,
so they will, I assume with the fact that Coventry Glass probably does work in town, probably DPW and stuff like that, that they already have them on file as a contractor, so they'll just send a check directly to them.
okay. And what about the flagpole? I noticed the flag has been taken down, so I don't know, did they do something with it?
I don't know.
We had talked about the flagpole, somebody,
it would need to be sanded and painted, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we had talked, was that we would need to find somebody to
Right.
do
Paint it
that,
and-
but I don't know anything about it being taken down.
well, the flag is gone, which I thought, oh, well, maybe
Yep.
somebody was doing something to the pole.
Well,
Um,
they did, but.
They took the,
not that
they
we
took the
know.
flag down, but
Yep.
yeah, okay, no, I was just
But-
curious. Because I know we talked
Is-
about that.
Is it something that you wanted me to get a price on?
Yes.
All right, I
mean-
mean, I was on vacation last week, so I wasn't
Oh,
around.
That's
but-
fine, that's fine, it's fine, because it's not like it's
Mm.
under the wire at this point in time. But, and then Reed School would be done as far as
Yep,
we need to clean it and, and
Mm.
maybe put some stuff back into it and set it up so that it can
'cause-
be open to the public.
I just wanted to confirm that you wanted me to try and get an estimate on it, because we did talk about it. It needs to be done correctly and
Yeah, yeah.
sanded properly and the proper primer put on it and all that stuff, so,
Yeah, so if you would,
Yep.
just,
okay.
and then it's done for a while.
Yep.
Be somebody else's problem down the road.
Question about the plexiglass. So is it going to be on this year's budget because of the mix up?
That's my understanding of it, yeah.
And that's not an issue for what we have already put into.
We
the
have a
budget?
$5,000 budget for this year.
Which is, correct me if I'm wrong, that's an increase from.
Yes, we had 4,000 last year, and that's what we were trying to get it in for last year, because for the longest time, we didn't even know what we had in the budget.
Okay.
And we were trying to get in for the deadline, so that would have been part of that.
Okay.
Okay, so
Then-
it's about $1,000 from what I remember, for the plexiglass.
It was, yeah,
Yeah,
something,
so
yeah,
that
it
would
was,
leave us around with
yep.
another 4,000 to do
Hmm.
something other
Right.
than,
and
okay.
I mean, I can't imagine the pricing of the flagpole is gonna be, but that's not part of that, or would that be part of this?
That would be part of
It
our
would, yeah,
our annual,
yep.
whatever.
Right,
Another thing we had, well, we're going, well, I don't think I can talk about that
Yep.
now. We had talked about the budget money of using it somehow for the plaque program. But I still don't have an answer for the plaque program as far as how people would buy their plaque. So nothing's gonna happen with that until we have that answer.
and that has to be okayed by the town council, correct?
I
Yeah.
don't think the plaque program
No.
has to be okay, but I think setting up an account within town has to be okay.
Okay, all right, then.
So
Okay.
if you want, we can jump to that agenda item. If it's
Where
if
is
it's
it?
relevant at this time.
Oh, house
It's-
plaques, yeah, house plaques, yeah.
So I talked to the director and
Who's the director?
Herb Burton,
Oh, okay.
Planning director,
Yeah, okay,
and he said he has seen it done in the past in other communities. and
Mhm.
There's no reason to believe that Coventry is significantly different in any way. That we could set up some sort of special fund, because that was the question. Can you guys collect funds and it go into a special place that's not just some sort of general fund?
Mm.
And then the money's lost to you. He said that it should be possible to create a special fund. It would have to have some sort of parameters. In other words, you can't collect the monies for it and then go and take those monies and apply it to many other projects.
Right.
It would have to be specific to
Mhm.
that program,
Mhm.
Yep.
which is completely understandable. And what happens is, I guess it goes through the general fund by a process, and it makes its way to
yeah,
your specific fund. You want to pull it out, you make the request,
Yeah.
it goes back through the general fund and filters out directly to whoever you're paying
right.
for the service.
So the
So he
checks
said
would
that it
be,
is possible.
okay, so the checks would be made out to the town of Coventry, more than likely, with that specific notation.
Yes, they would be made out to the town of Coventry, and then in an ideal world, whoever is applying
Mhm.
would give those checks directly to the planning department, but
Yeah.
it's not a perfect world. We get it. If somebody hands you an application, they might hand you a check with it as well, preferably a check.
You can only give specific instructions and hope they follow them.
Right, but I'm never gonna tell
Yeah.
somebody, hey, if they wanna give you money, don't not accept it. If you
Right,
need
right.
to pass along a check to us,
Right,
then that's.
yeah, which is
That's
fine. I
doable.
mean, that I don't
but
object
it should
to.
be
I just
made
want to
out to
know
town of
that,
Coventry, and then we'll
You're right.
tell the finance department which
Okay.
account to apply it to.
now who sets that up? Finance?
Yes.
So-
So I got the answer as to whether it's possible. Now it's a case of making it happen.
Yeah, and how does that work?
That I'm not quite sure about.
Because I'm not gonna go talk to finance.
No, not a problem. Yeah, so I got an answer as to whether or not it's
Right.
possible, and now I'll work to,
Yeah, I figured
out
it
what the
had to be
process is.
possible, but it's knowing how to put it together.
yeah, I don't know if it's finance approval, town manager
Mhm.
approval, or council approval, how
Yeah, that,
we
yeah,
actually get the account set up.
right.
I'm really not sure yet.
And until we know that, I don't see how we can go forward with the house plaque program.
So how do we find out?
So I'll work out
Oh, okay,
those details
Yeah.
this month, with, the finance department, and see how easy and or difficult it is to actually create this special account.
So maybe ultimately, a person who's applying, they write in on their check on the subject line, plaque
Plaque.
program or whatever the name
Right.
of our fund is, they write that in.
Yeah.
And then we take that and then we tell them which account to apply it to.
Yeah, okay,
So I'll put that on my list.
makes sense. So everybody's okay with that?
Mhm.
Next on the list is the ARPA funds.
Yep, Museum Day.
Where?
Museum Day, you skipped over.
Oh, I see.
You're looking at the wrong, right?
Under old business. with
Under old
Great
business.
No, I'm
Plains
looking at
School.
this. I'm looking at this.
Oh,
Do you have the right copy?
maybe I don't.
Museum Day is,
We'll make another copy.
That's all right. Sorry.
we'll talk about that after, because it's not on the
No,
agenda.
what's with that?
No, Museum Day. This is
Oh.
ARPA fund.
Yeah, I am.
Oh,
I
okay.
printed out the same one again. That's great.
Oh, that's okay.
You can continue.
Yep,
The ARPA funds, we were going to use, or applications, which somebody sent me applications again, for the pink granite, which is here, and the town map, we were gonna apply for that for the ARPA funds. It has to be done soon. But I got an email today from John about the map.
okay, I was gonna say that, the problem is the map estimate, right?
Well, the map will take time.
Hmm.
The granite, I don't think would take time for you to
No.
put. Why aren't you working? Okay, there you are. Oh, here he is.
Thanks, John.
John, explain what you emailed to me about the map and then concerns of,
Yeah, so, I checked in with the, planning director and, he followed up with the town manager and they had concerns. As the commission did about. Taking this historic map and moving it.
Yeah,
Any risk, even whether it's, a
short
citizen
distance.
or even an
Yeah.
employee.
Mhm.
Whether it's long haul, short haul, wherever. They're concerned of, potentially ruining a historic artifact.
Mhm.
yeah, I don't blame them. I mean, it's one of those things.
Yeah, so that's their concern, and there's also a concern, nobody's saying that the people that you reached out to are, not qualified or anything like that, but there is concern if you're bringing it to a company, that could potentially make money on it.
And
Are they
with-
more inclined to say that it needs work? That was.
Yeah, that's
that
too
was a
bad.
Concern that was
yeah,
brought
they're
up.
not that type of organization, but
No.
I understand their concerns. I get it. Yeah, they have to, I mean, that's all right.
Dan's the one who spoke to them.
Yeah, they're really, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nobody's
Yeah.
trying to.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Cast doubt or anything, it's just, that was just something that was
Yeah.
brought up, that's not the defining,
Mm.
reason. It really came down to concern over. us
Yeah, it's-
taking it.
Yeah, and they're right, because to be honest with you, I don't know if I was in the town, I certainly wouldn't leave it in the room they have it just leaning up against there. If I were them, I would either store it someplace
Yeah,
or at least mount it,
Yeah.
get it off the floor.
that was what I said, just-
Yeah,
just-
get it off the floor because it's a really nice piece, they said. But it was some type of adhesive. I don't know if it was painted on or stuck on there. And that's what's so different about it. And it's all, I don't even know what they could do. I mean,
And
again,
where is it right now over there?
it's in the town hall in
Conference
one of the
room.
little conference
Is
rooms.
it in the conference room still?
Behind the town
Yeah,
manager's office.
Right, that's where I had seen it a year
Yeah,
or two ago.
I would just, if I were, I'd just be either mounted or put it someplace safe because
I mean, if I went over there, could I look at it? I mean, would they object to that?
it's pretty cool.
Well, you had mentioned about a conservator at
That
the last
happened brought
meeting.
up at the
Yeah.
Last meeting.
Right,
and
right.
that was-
I mean, I just would like to go look at it again to refresh I mean, it was like 2 years ago when
I mean, some of the pictures are distorted that I have, but
Yep,
that's it.
Yep.
They're distorted a little bit, but it's,
Yeah.
that was in the police station section
right,
for
right.
years.
Yeah, I know. It was in the town hall section is where it
Yeah,
was.
yes, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So,
But that
That-
had been brought up at the meeting, that
Mm.
some sort
Yep.
of conservator or like a state archivist or something.
Right,
Mm.
right.
and I thought Paul
That's
had
what-
mentioned somebody from PV. You had mentioned.
Well,
somebody?
that I could ask about
Mm.
finding someone that might be able to do this. There are a few different, I mean, again,
Yeah,
I've come into contact with different people now with doing the stuff I do with the maps and everything else that,
yeah.
not do, that I can possibly get help with it on, that know more than I do. That have been resources for certain things, if I want to find out, because, their interest in this stuff allows me to call them and ask them stuff and find out and pick their brain, but
The thought is.
I would like to just go see it
Yeah,
again.
because it's not
in person.
linen either. It's very
Yep.
unique. People think it's not. It was painted on or stuck on with something.
Because it's in that office
Adhesive.
that's kind of behind the tax assessor's office, right?
yeah.
Right, yeah,
So it could
okay,
even
yep.
be that-
I mean, I'm sure they'll, I mean, if I identify myself, that some of them over there know me anyways, and I can always have,
It is
Deb.
unique. Deb,
I
yeah,
can
Deb,
always
Deb got
go
me in
see
there
Deb
last time
and
to see it,
see.
yeah.
And thought was, I mean, the person that comes out and sees it,
Mm.
they might. Say, no, you're better off just not touching it.
That's
Right.
Well, that's-
Yeah.
exactly,
Like,
yes.
people think that they're doing good by cleaning up an old.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree with you, yeah.
So I think that's where.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I actually,
All right.
it's,
I'll try and do, a little
The problem with that is that
questioning,
we're limited for time for ARPA funds, so
right,
more than likely this won't be an ARPA fund thing.
you just don't know what you have yet, and you don't know if you can get
And I don't know if we can do it quickly.
Mhm.
Even if we brought it to Andover, it was Andover, not Amherst.
Amherst.
I kept calling it Amherst.
No, it's okay. No, but I understand the concerns too, because I don't even know if anything could be done with it. And again, it's always like, we
Alright.
don't know, we have to see it.
So
Right.
here's-
It should just be a case where. The town just needs to display it. And
I
yeah,
was just gonna say, so
Yeah.
why don't
You know
we-
what would be the best option to put something, I don't want to say
Over it,
plexiglass, but something right over it now.
in a case,
Yep, and really protect it. That's what I would do. That's what I put the money.
Could be too, that UV light would further deteriorate it, or, it might be exposed to direct sunlight.
so what if we
could damage it
consider,
too.
Well, there's
We don't
special
know. We don't know.
glass that you can put over
Right,
something like that.
protect it.
That's what they should probably do.
so
is-
what if
UV
we
inhibitor.
consider having something made to place it in
mm,
and hang it somewhere in town hall and not
Right.
even touch it?
And maybe identify an area.
Mm,
Yeah,
Mm.
and I would definitely, you need the protection of the UV rays, like you
and not
said, but
touch it.
there is something that they put right over it and to mount it correctly, because it's really kind of neat, you circa, I think it's circa the 1939 or 40 or 41, but that's old now. And but it is all I wouldn't want to move it myself either. It would have been nice. I talked to the woman for somebody to come down and look at it, but again, they didn't suggest that they really do that. And I think, it might be better just to display it at this point.
right, it might be,
So here's an option. Why don't we find a conservator to look at it? You know?
Mm.
Or we find somebody who can build a case,
Both.
yeah, or both, yeah.
yeah.
And if
Well,
it's not doable,
because if you did have a conservative come and say they could restore it some, it probably still shouldn't be not in a case once you do.
well, either
that.
way, it needs to be
Yeah.
in the case, yes.
Yeah,
I don't think the case would be thousands and thousands of dollars, I wouldn't think. I don't
Well,
know.
I think it just depends. It's gonna have to be
well-
a certain
Well,
size.
it
and-
has to be
That-
on-
it's good size, Norma, and you're
Mhm.
probably out of touch with what building stuff costs right
Yeah,
now.
it's
but I
heavy
bet
too,
you it'd be-
yeah.
Let's say you had someone like Coventry Millwork make
Yeah.
it, they're right here in town and they're very good, and they're, closest one that I
Yeah.
know that has the ability to do that stuff. That could easily be a $1,500 or $1,800,
When I say
$2,000
not
thing.
big money, I mean,
Yeah.
that's money.
Yep.
But I'm talking about, they want ARPA funds, they want projects $20,000
Oh,
or
yeah.
more. So that
Yeah.
takes that off the table
Right, it
and
does.
within our
And,
annual
right,
budget.
it does. And
So-
maybe, again, maybe you can get it for a reduced cost because it's for the town or
Right.
whatever through something like that. And I'm only mentioning them, but I do know other people
Yeah.
as well that do this, so you can
Yeah.
get prices on it from
So
them.
going that route, it would not be an ARPA fund
Yeah,
project.
yeah, it's not, it. Again, comes back to whether or not the thing gets touched and you're spending a few thousand or more dollars restoring it. We don't know.
Now, isn't there a piece of wood that fell off of it?
It's just the bottom. It almost looks like, if you had a truck board, what you would leave the truck on, but it's kind of
Like a
maybe.
molding type thing?
It's,
or-
no, it's a piece of wood.
Yeah, it was-
Trey.
Yeah.
It was
Yes,
probably
okay.
just there for decorative purposes, so it finished it off on the bottom, like a
Mhm.
window.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not falling apart per se, it's just,
That's off of it though. That is off of it, but it's leaning, I mean, I don't think it's just leaning up against the floor and the wall. That's all.
What is the deadline for submitting the ARPA proposals?
they haven't decided yet.
There's no specific deadline.
They had told me the end of September, but they weren't sure.
I just thought of a humdinger or a.
What? Oh, spit it out.
A few years ago, started talking about the retaining wall inside of Pine Grove Cemetery by the holding vaults. is coming down.
I had forgotten.
And it is eroding to the point where it's right next to headstones, and it's just a matter of time
Mm.
before,
Mhm.
literally before like remains start becoming exposed.
I had not,
And,
that's right, we had,
so we went through, with the existing, town council and the person who was in DPW at the time, and they threw out some ideas, but kind of nothing really came of it. And then a few years ago, DPW contacted a couple of different companies to come in and give estimates on what it would cost to shore up that retaining wall. And the numbers that came up were put us out, you know, put
I
it,
actually had two companies come in and price it to take it
Yeah.
apart and rebuild it correctly.
yeah,
I
Wow.
don't
Yeah,
know
and
if
that was
that's the
over-
numbers you're talking about.
that was over
Still-
$100,000
Yeah.
at the
I was gonna
time.
say the cheapest number that I saw was 80,000.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
was,
numbers that I got.
Was that a couple
Wow.
of years ago?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Did Kevin called you? Is that how you were?
no, we were looking
We
to
did
get a
it
grant.
through
Oh, you
here.
guys did it.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
we
Yeah,
did it.
we-
DPW did it, I don't know if it was after that or separately from that. So it sounds like
Because-
the numbers were in the ballpark.
Because we had
Yeah.
2 or 3 come, and
And
they
again, I
mostly
I
said,
just solicited the
once-
companies to come do it, nothing to do with me,
Yeah.
other than
Right.
that part of it,
one
so.
wanted to shore it up, like you're saying, and leave the trees. The other 2 both said the trees should come out
That's right.
Yeah.
and you should rebuild the
Yeah.
wall.
So right now, what the instruction
forgotten
is
about that.
don't anyone touch those arborvitaes because they're
That's what's holding
the
it
wall
together.
right now. So
Well,
don't
that's
touch-
true.
Don't touch them right now.
If you take them out of there, that wall's
Should be
coming
one
down
wall.
this winter.
I was interested in doing something like throwing riprap up against it to, you know, I was hoping something to more closely duplicate what was
Hmm.
there.
Because you started it, or maybe
But I-
Sandy started, I don't know,
When I
but
started
you
that.
started it, right?
But that's right.
So that's when we went through that process and got 2 different prices to compare, and one was like 80 something, the other one was over 120,000 or
Yeah.
something.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely like closer to that end than it is the 20,000, but it's definitely more than.
They said more than
20,000.
20,000, it wouldn't hurt.
But I don't know if it's just like too unrealistic, if it's too.
You don't know unless you ask.
Yeah, I don't know if they have a cap, but it does sound like there was a lot of work already put into this, so maybe it's
Yeah.
just a matter of somebody. reaching out.
Repricing it.
And, I mean, maybe they could say, yeah, this price still holds, or add 10,000.
What do you think?
Yeah,
What do you
It's
Again,
think?
not like you're
I
starting
keep
from
a
scratch.
file in my computer that I have all this stuff. That it's when I'm involved, or like all the minutes to the meetings, all that stuff, so I do have. Those that I did in there somewhere, you know, I would just have to look again. And I had taken pictures of it back at the time of the whole thing.
So what do you
too,
think?
So,
Do you want to try that?
I mean, unless somebody has another, I mean.
Well, pink
unless-
granite won't be $20,000 by itself,
no,
by
no,
itself. That's why I was putting both the map and pink
Yeah.
granite together. But we're taking a different turn on the map right now.
yeah. Which is one that makes a lot of sense, so.
Yeah.
Be careful with that.
So what do you guys think about putting in an application, getting prices and applying for the stone wall? Worst they could,
For the what?
the stone wall at Pine Grove,
Oh,
worst they can do is say no.
right,
What do you think?
right. I mean, they're gonna weigh, you know, they're gonna look at projects and weigh what they think is the best use of the money. Now, it depends on how much they have to.
Right now,
Give
this
out,
is the
so-
best chance to get that wall fixed.
Yep. Well, again, I just. Have to look back up who it was that we
Okay.
got the prices from on our end. And find out. John can find out who did the other
I was
estimates.
gonna say, I don't know who actually,
Well, you don't-
no, I don't know who, because, DPW.
Right, but do
is the
you
one that-
approach them to find out who priced it out? Or, because I don't know if those are the estimates that I got that I gave to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't have any
Yep.
history or knowledge of.
At that,
I-
No, but I mean, you have the ability to talk to DPW and ask them. You can? Okay. Well,
at that time, we were applying for a Champlain grant.
Hmm.
So
Right,
we
I
didn't
remember.
go through DPW.
yeah,
Right.
We were
that's
applying for
right. You were
Champlain.
doing a Champlain grant. That's right. That's what it was for.
Yeah, we were
Yep.
doing a Champlain grant.
Yep.
And I think I might have some of these people's names. I'll send you, because I was talking to the people. One of them was the one on Fairview Avenue by the cemetery.
Mhm. Yep, Stamp,
Do they
no,
do-
not Stamp Brothers.
Headstones, is that the business that?
No, they do walls and they do
No,
stone,
they're a big
stone, they do,
Masonry outfit.
yeah, masonry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't think of their name, but it,
It's something brothers.
Yeah.
The business.
they were one of them, and there was one Catatone or something like that from Connecticut.
I don't,
I don't
that isn't
remember.
who I got.
I think I got that name from,
I had two different people that I
yeah,
knew could handle that stuff.
yeah, I
not-
got that name from Rob Cagnetta. Because he does historic preservation, Cantone and Sons.
Cantone and Sons, that's right, that's one I recommend.
That's one of yours,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. That's the other one that I had gotten a price of, and he was from Connecticut, and the one there on Fairview Avenue, which is obviously local. I can't think of their name. But we could
I mean, at this point,
reprice it again.
we should. And I can ask, a couple different people. Cantone, I have not, at the time, 2 years ago, they were doing something that I had designed for St. Thomas More Church down in there, and that's how I got to know them. They did, and they were a big outfit, so I mean, it was a lot like they were not into doing commercial stuff and all that, so. And I found them to be, honorable and do good work. They were expensive, but I don't know which one got the higher one there, but anyway, I can ask.
I think Cantone's was higher.
I can ask
So
my
one-
mason if he's interested in bidding on it. He may not, because it's, but he may, because he's right here in West
That
Wall.
would be if we can, apply for that anyway. We're doing something. We're not just
Yeah.
letting it go by.
No, the other one was, I think, Set in Stone. That's the other person
Set
I
in
got.
stone.
I got, because he had done work for me back then
sounds
too. He
familiar.
was doing some walks and stuff on one of my jobs. And I got to know him, and Set in Stone, I think, was the other one I had give a price on it, because he's got. Again, he's not like he's got just two guys working for him. He's got, 4 or 5 guys
I
working.
think I
with him.
asked the Fairview Avenue guy because he was local.
Right, I think he did.
Because the next time you hear about this, it's gonna be on, Turn to 10 or something on the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah,
How the-
bodies,
I think it'd be an-
skeletons falling out of the
Like that
ground.
mausoleum and what is that, Cranston?
Oh,
That
yeah.
keeps coming up. Yeah, right now the trees are what's holding the wall up.
It
But
is.
on the top of that hill, it's pretty close to the graves are pretty close to the edge of
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
vested interest, a lot of Madison relatives in there.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yep.
So can we make a motion for that we,
Do we need a motion for that to get prices?
to get prices? for these
It's the rules
Pine
of
Grove?
order here.
Yeah, you could make a motion to. Go out and solicit bids and then. Present those bids as
Okay.
part of the application. You said that there was an application.
Yeah, it's a
You
one
said mention,
thing.
So I'll make a motion to solicit prices for the repair to the masonry wall in the Pine
Pine Grove.
Grove Cemetery. And pursuant of opera funds.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We talked about the map, pink granite, well, I was gonna
Well,
propose that as
again,
part of ARPA, but
you know,
now that
that's-
will be a
It's like
different
$10,000 to
solution.
$12,000 thing there.
About what, a 12,000?
10 to 12, I mean, it's not gonna, fit into their. Guidelines of what they're trying to
Yeah,
do.
well, that's not gonna be an
No.
ARPA fund thing. We'll have to figure out something else to get that
Yeah,
project done at another time. Arkwright Bridge is here because
Can we submit the pink granite to the ARPA even though it's below the fund and maybe they'll just
they said
let
not
it
to.
slide?
Ludwig said not to,
didn't seem like they wanted anything that was.
under 20,000.
20,000.
That's why she was saying combine things.
Yep, right.
I mean, it would be nice to get the pink granite done and we could have $4,000 of our budget that's
Mm.
coming up with the arrest.
Okay.
Maybe we can take our $4,000 and dig the hole and next year. No, it's just. You could add it to the wall. The Pine Grove wall. But that's gonna be like $100,000.
So if you added the pink
Hmm.
granite to the cost of doing something with that. would that
Yeah, I mean,
potentially-
Well, that's what we were gonna do.
That's what we were gonna
The
do.
pink granite with the mat,
But-
because some of those estimates were what? And for the map? I mean, they were just guesswork.
$5,000 to $8,000.
Yeah, that where the
So,
pink granite would have
Yep.
been, brought us over the,
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't wanna, jump in, I'd like to be optimistic, I don't know, I've like seen my like hopes dashed a number of times. I'd like to see something happen with the wall, but I don't know.
so what if?
Does this preclude, like, you can't submit more than
They-
one,
You can
as
put
many
multiple.
proposals?
is-
You
yeah,
can put
different
multiple.
Proposals, really?
We could try, just tack on another 10,000 for the pink granite as part of that project. Doesn't mean. Either way. We don't have $10,000 right now. So if they say no, we're still no worse off than we are at the moment. We could throw it all in together and see what they do.
Well, I think it's gonna be juggling right now until we get some numbers. And
Well, yeah,
find a little more out, because
Yeah, find
again,
out
maybe
what
you
the
go
wall
back
is.
to the original concept of
Yeah.
town map mural combined with the pink granite for
Yeah.
one. Because if you do it and you're gonna make a display for it as well,
Mhm.
and have that hung professionally,
Mhm.
that may well come up to
Right.
right around 20,000 with what you're
Yeah.
doing, okay? So I think until we know a little more
Mm.
on the map mural thing as to what's gonna
because when she
happen.
told me
so-
about it, I thought, oh, pink
Yeah.
granite, but she said, oh, no,
Yeah.
we want more than 20,000,
Yeah.
20,000 and more.
All right,
They've got to spend this money.
so. Arkwright Bridge, what's going?
Oh, our Great Bridge. I had gotten an email asking me what I don't understand about how the town works, and I wrote an email and said, this is what I don't get, and part of it was those funds for house plaques. How do you do it? And I've said that more than once, but we finally have an answer.
okay.
Part of the thing is, there were a couple of other things that I had on my list, but one of them was our Great Bridge. It's like, I don't know where to begin with our Great Bridge. I've talked to state people. And I've gotten information from DOT and Rhode Island Heritage Commission and all of them. But I don't know how or who to approach at the town level, who would I go to talk about it? Well, the town manager pretty much just told me to start over. Because it's been a while since I talked to state people. The bridge is in worse condition than it was when we started talking about that. I don't know how many years ago. So, Ann Dixon has told her that DOT says it can't go over water. We're not gonna move the whole bridge. The bridge has to be taken apart, disassembled, and see what's workable. It's not all workable, and it's worse than it was, like I said, about 8 years ago when we first started talking about it. So we need to, one of the people from the state told me that within that budget of replacing that bridge, there is money in there pertaining to that historic bridge as to what could happen to it. So that would not cost the town anything. But all this has been left. So it's like
There's so much to this
It's like
project. that-
starting over again. We'd have to start over from square one.
But
So
no
do
matter
we
where,
just save the plaques?
well, the Arkwright Bridge thing, we'll just,
No, I'm talking about the
Yeah.
things at the top.
right, to say, no, but I mean, to
Yeah.
do the bridge project. Realistically. If they said, okay, begin preliminary study of this thing.
Mm.
I mean, there is so much to it with engineering studies. You'd have to have a place where it's gonna go so that you can say, okay, this is what we have to do for abutments and concrete work and footings and all this other stuff. I mean, you're talking
Wow.
about a massive undertaking. And the problem is you've got the competing thing. If it was just in Coventry, but we get into this whole thing of
Mhm.
Cranston. And it gets so complicated. That's why we never got anywhere with this. And it still is totally unresolved, because what do you do with Cranston? You know, with the whole thing. You'd have to get them to agree to sign off on it or something. I mean, again, you have
Well,
this
there was somebody from
jurisdictional thing
Cranston.
here.
There was somebody from Cranston that wanted to get, but we never all got together.
Yeah, right. That's the problem.
You know,
When you get to two
So-
things and you.
so as far as Arkwright Bridge goes, at both ends, there is that,
Plaque.
Those
Those-
nice plaques, yes,
Yeah.
to save those.
yeah, so where would we go with them? I mean, we keep them, okay, say we keep them. I mean, never mind Cranston at this point in time. There are two. So Cranston could have one, Coventry could have one, if they want one. So what do we do with these two ends of the bridge? These two,
Store 'em for now.
Yeah, I think you'd have to have some serious talk about where they would go.
Is there a way to
Yeah.
somehow incorporate them with the river walk?
Okay, well,
well,
Here we
the
go.
other- yeah,
you want to hear my idea down there? Can we talk about that,
Sure.
John, or not?
we're talking about Arkwright Bridge.
It's on Arkwright Bridge.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the Arkwright Bridge, Sakosha owns the property that was the old mill on
Mhm.
Lincoln Ave.
Mhm.
And he's putting up some type of commercial building there now. And that, but they continue to improve that site. As you know, from a couple years ago, when we started talking about the Arkwright
Mhm.
Bridge, we realized that the railroad tracks that went through that property is
Mhm.
now closed off to the public because they put wire fencing up that does not permit you to walk from the Phoenix part of the walk up to the rest of it
Mhm.
that goes along, which is a shame.
Because it's his
And-
property.
What would be nice is to pursue either through a letter from us to whatever the corporation is called, that, you know, that has its own name that Michael Sakosha owns. And ask them if they would consider donating that portion of the land. And again, this is Riverwalk people stuff. So Norma, you know them. I don't. I remember he came to a meeting
Patuxent
when we
River.
talked about the
Patuxent
Arkwright.
River, yeah.
Right, I mean, I don't know him personally and that, I know that he was very much on board with the idea, when we first talked about it, to see if we could get the Riverwalk people and us or whatever to try and maybe get that connected,
Mhm.
that stretch that's
Mhm.
maybe what, 300, 400 yards long, that is now a parking
Mhm.
lot. They would have to move the fence in approximately 30 feet in order for that rail line that was there to be reclaimed. Russ helped me back then with the site plans and
Mhm.
stuff, and I have them in the computer with the old site plan from early 1900s that shows the rail lines
Mm.
and the mill and how they go into it and through the
Mhm.
property. And I have aerial photography from the town archives and stuff on that. So there is stuff there. And the reason this came up is not only because of that, but there was notice in the paper a couple of weeks ago, and I should have cut it out, but I didn't. And it was, they were having some kind of a review for his project there.
Mhm.
And it was to reinstate something that had been put on hold, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I thought about it. I said, you know what, we completely left that behind, and it was something we were talking about doing, trying to see if that could get connected as part of the Arkwright Bridge stuff. All right, so,
The authority has told me that they've asked him and he said no.
hmm,
But that's where I was thinking the bridge would go, not specifically the bridge. When I say the bridge, I don't mean that whole big span of
yeah,
whatever, down there, because the other side of the road
Yep.
is owned by the town.
yeah,
So I had the thought it could be made with a small bridge across the river with the two ends. So the ends would be on ground, and it doesn't have to go over water. But also on that property is that raceway. The two ends could be on either
Yes.
side of the raceway.
the
So
raceway goes under.
so
through
it
there.
connects the two,
Yeah.
because that land's divided by the raceway.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking for the bridge, not that span that is right now, because I don't think that's doable.
No,
But the two ends on either side of that smaller span of river or that
Yep.
raceway and
Yep.
make that a park.
but you'd have to convince him, because I don't, again. Since I'm just throwing this out there out of the blue again, I don't know any of the legalities of it, because the rail line.
Mhm.
That was donated, I mean,
I
who
don't know.
owned that rail line that went through that property, and how did that become part of that property? I mean, that was prior
don't know.
to him owning it, I would assume. And how was that succession of stuff happening where they just took that over and paved it over? Because that was the rail line that went all the way up to Hope,
Yeah,
the Fishkill rail line. So, there's a bunch of property research that would have to be done or whatever to even
Okay,
put that together, and I
so,
I can't do that part of it, I don't know.
no,
enough
but I'm
about
just
any
gonna
of that.
ask
I
some
don't-
questions about the bridge being
Yep.
moved, even in just in a smaller portion, the two ends. The two ends are really where the things are,
Yep. I don't
and
know.
where would they go? And even if they were up as a sign somewhere, we had
You
a-
couldn't do it without his permission, number one.
no, no,
'cause
but
that's
at
right there.
another location.
Yep.
No, you can't go across the
I'm
river,
stuck on the whole possession thing, because it can't do anything without that, that's
Yeah.
why I'm.
but you
you
could
know,
put
go
it over
back to
the
John.
raceway.
Does the state get involved in things like this because of the rail line to,
I don't think so.
No.
At this point, it's.
I mean,
it's privately owned.
you're too young. Who, and then I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean that you weren't here, I should say,
When the
you know, when
railroad
that
was
stuff
running.
first happened. With that property over there, so. It's, you know, I grew up in Phoenix, so I used to walk that all the time,
Right.
ride my bike on it, it's not that, just
There.
that, yep, that's why, so. The rest of that line from Phoenix
Yeah,
up to Harris
can I go over there?
is
John?
Riverwalk,
Touch the screen because it'll.
yeah,
No, no, but I mean,
yeah,
Mm.
so.
this is Harris Dam.
John, would you know how the land, I guess I should ask the Riverwalk people.
This
This is going.
It's Harris Dam, it's right down there in that little nook,
is the property that the town owns. Right here.
Right
That
there.
oval shape. right
Yep.
there. This here.
yep,
That-
Mm.
And that's the raceway. So I was thinking that the two ends of the bridge could be over this raceway so that people could walk over the raceway if we can't go over the river.
here's Phoenix, this is
Yeah.
right here with where the train station was in
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
This is the line right here that comes
Yeah.
through. See this little parcel 183?
Yeah.
That's what he owns.
That's right on, oops, sorry. I did it. I got too close. That is the piece that's down to the river, but
Yeah.
the rail line came right across. Can you take that off, yeah? The rail line came right through here.
Don't touch it. Right
The rail line
here.
came right through here and here,
Yeah.
and one branch came over to here,
Yeah,
and then it
along the-
ran all the way up through here.
Right.
So all of this property, it's actually a lot more expensive than I
Yeah.
thought, is that all of that would have to be part of the walk that went
Uh-huh.
up to get up to here.
Yeah. It is part of the walk. You can walk all the way to here.
Because the fence right now is somewhere right about on that line
Yeah.
right now.
But this is the town property. I was thinking it would go across where it's thin or across the raceway.
Yep.
Jump to the fence. And some sort of like a walkway across, say even the raceway, because there's no water there. It's just,
Oh, you're talking about that raceway, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it goes for that, the
Yeah.
Harris Mills over there. So this is divides that land and this is owned by the town. So I thought if it couldn't come across the river, which is here, it could come across here in a much smaller version of bridge.
Yeah, because the other would be so expensive to do and
Yeah.
so
So it could just
crazy.
so rest on the ground and just be a walkover. Is what I'm thinking at this point. So it would be the two ends of that bridge,
Right.
plus one, maybe one span to walk over. So there'd be like a flat.
So the
plan.
problem gets into is finding out from the state
Well, yeah. I'm gonna
what-
go to the state.
what their responsibility and
Yeah.
absorbing of course is.
And I would think, here's Harris Mill, that they would like having a park area for their residents, because I know Anthony Miller has the bike path. If you could link it, the walking path, but I don't know if you can. Somehow link this property to this property with to the walking path, so you've got these people living at the mill here. And they could come over here and walk over and go to the walking path. Right now, they have to go this way, and it's private property. That's what I was thinking. So I'll start over with the state, but that has nothing to do with ARPA.
No,
That has nothing to do with ARPA. But like I say, this is a nice town property here. Make a nice park type thing for that name.
and I don't hold much hope out for my cousin doing anything.
No, he's already said no to the.
Yeah.
Already. But this doesn't involve him doing it. I don't know if it was this. But this thing was done by the town.
So. Anyway,
Yeah, I'll just find out what I can and see where it goes.
That's about all you can do.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's complicated.
If I hit the lottery, then I'll buy all the property and everything will be fine.
You just need to win that $1
Yeah,
billion lottery that just went by.
I never play. So
I
anyway,
don't need,
so
okay, so.
we're into grants.
Question. Okay,
Okay, so I had two things to talk about, but I only did one, so we'll have to wait till next time for the second one. So, does the Reed Schoolhouse count as a museum? It can,
Mhm.
if it's open to the public at least 120 days a year.
Okay,
And we have a full-time staff member, paid or unpaid, whose primary job is engaged in the care or exhibition. Thank you. To the site. So if we meet those two requirements, then the Reed Schoolhouse is a museum and we can apply for a museum grant.
and who's this with? Is this government?
This is the rules for what counts as a museum per the government for, I
Okay.
assume it's federal, but this might be Rhode Island specific. I guess it doesn't really matter
Okay.
which one it is.
Well, as of right now, it hasn't been open 120
Yeah.
days a year, so.
And we don't
can't-
have a full-time person
we don't have a
dedicated to its
full-time
care.
person.
So that's two big giant hurdles. So unless we want to,
And when is
Try
that
it.
due?
I didn't look at any of the grants, but there's a bunch of grants that are museum specific.
Mhm.
So we could get them to do whatever we wanted with the Reed Schoolhouse, but we'd have to do these two other things first before we could even apply.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna look at museum grants unless we're willing to go.
Well, that's down the road.
Okay.
That's down the road, yeah.
The second thing was, I was supposed to start looking at the next grant that's coming up, and I forget the name of it.
That's the CLG grants with the state.
Yes, they should be opening soon. I think it's gonna be next month, so when it does, I will.
What is that one?
The certified local government grants that come out every year. And we can use it to get funding to start updating the historical register. That's all I got.
No, that's good. Um. So we would, for museum grants, we would have to figure out how many days it would be open and who would be the staff member.
Yeah, that's not gonna, just. That's another thing, if you have a staff member in there, in that building, do you have to carry special insurance, or is that person insured, or? I wouldn't,
Well, we don't, that's down the road.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
I know it's supposed to be open for museum day, but which is Saturday, but I'm not gonna be there and nobody else is gonna be there, so it's not gonna be open this year on museum day. But I'm hoping next year it's open somewhat. It doesn't have to be 120 days, but somewhat that it's open.
I think it depends what you put back in there too, what's authentic. Because if you're gonna have somebody show it and explain what's in there, you have to be really specific. You're gonna get some old timers in there who might be schooling you, which is a good thing, but at the same token, you don't want to.
Well, what they used to do was the things that were in the school weren't specific to that school. And it was more about, they would talk about the teachers, and I don't know anything about those teachers. They're long
I know,
gone.
that's what's.
But there's enough that we have that we could make a school museum of the development of the schools for Coventry. We started with these, we started in the taverns, we started with these little buildings, and then we went and have different history of the schools within Rhode Island.
I think Coventry, like.
The
as
one
far as-
room schoolhouse.
Yeah, like.
The one room
Sure.
schoolhouse, there's the bell that's it's in the annex right now that I'd like to move back there. I was told it was a high school bell. I don't remember high schools having big bells. I'm thinking it's from Washington School, because they had Washington School before they had Reed School.
Yeah, and it had a bell
Historical.
tower.
And I think it's the Washington School. Somebody told me it was the Harris Heights bell, but the Harris Heights bell is in
PVPHS.
Yeah, it is,
Blackstone, not Blackstone,
Patuxent Valley,
no.
no?
Which one is it PVPHS now?
What's the high school, the school on Jervis Street? Hopkins, no. Off of Jervis
Black
Street.
Rock.
Black Rock,
Black Rock.
it's there.
Hmm.
Because when Harris Heights burned and they built a new school, which is Black Rock, they
Yep.
took the bell and put it there, and
Oh,
people have told me
okay.
that it's
Oh, I
there.
didn't know that.
So we have this bell that I'm assuming is from the Washington school, because the Historical Society was working on that school first. And they ended up with Reed,
The Washington School, the one that was on Wood Street where the police station
Katy
is now?
Street, Katy Street. It's a daycare now,
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, off of South Main.
off of
Yeah.
South Main. That was
Yeah.
Washington
Up on the
Primary.
hill.
On the hill.
Up on the
That
hill.
was Washington Primary, and then it became Washington Tyo, where the
nursery?
police station is right now. What?
What was- Is
Yeah,
it a
it's a
nursery?
daycare,
Daycare.
daycare.
It's a daycare now.
Hmm.
But that's the only place I can figure this bell came from. Because that was more than a one-room school.
Mm.
Washington Primary. So I'm assuming it's from there. So I thought if that could be in there as part of the progression of education in Coventry, that's what this little museum could be. What do you think?
You mean making Reed Schoolhouse that theme that you
Yes.
just described?
You'd have pictures
early
and
years of
stories of the
education.
various schools.
The early years of
around it.
education, and we've got enough pictures of kids that went to school in that time period.
So representing all of the
Right,
former schools.
and that's what's in the annex right now. That's what we have in the annex. That used to be in the school, but they never really focused on the one-room school part of that. They focused on the teachers and and they used to have people that would come in that went to that school, which I don't think is anymore.
Right.
But, so if over the next year we did something along that idea, and she's got this museum grant thing that maybe down the road we could apply towards that. I mean, it's not a big building. We're not gonna put a lot in it. But I was thinking more along those lines about the history of education in Coventry, because like I said, they started in the taverns. Not everybody was educated.
No,
The one-room
they
schoolhouse,
started the one-room schoolhouse.
yeah, they started
thing
popping
to
out
do
in
that.
in all the villages, because we go
Yep.
back to the villages. I think we need to focus on the history of our villages too, but that's another whole thing. But,
Right, they were done in each of the villages.
Yeah,
Right,
you
so
can
you-
focus on each village, what
They
the
each
school
had-
looked like, what it,
there were no
You know,
high schools then.
right,
If you
right.
went 6 years to school, that was a big deal.
Right.
In those days,
Yeah, but I think the village is to focus on each one because each
Yep.
one has different
Right.
flavor and
right?
also the, the mill workers and the families, and that would be very interesting.
And out this way, it was agricultural. It wasn't the mill people out as you got further west,
Mm,
because there were a lot of schools.
And that's
Yep.
when the mills came, people really didn't want to farm anymore, because
Right.
it was hard way of life.
Right, right. Not that the
Yeah,
mill
it's a good
life was
idea.
great either, but I'm just thinking more along those lines,
Yeah,
which we can
okay.
develop.
I think
and
that would work.
most of the stuff is in the annex and belongs to the Historical Society. So as we take those steps, whatever's Historical Society needs to be documented, that it's not town property.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean,
inventory-
but wasn't that done with the historical members before? Like, did they?
I can't find their.
So if they
inventory.
if somebody donated something, or did they give it, or you supposed to give it back? Did you?
No, they gave it to the Historical Society. They didn't give it to the town per se. The building belongs to the town. That's the glitch. So if we take that bell, say for instance,
Mm.
that Washington school bell, if that's what it is, and we take that and we put that in the school and we put a plaque that it's the Washington School Bell, that it's the property of the Coventry Historical Society. So within the bylaws of the Historical Society, you have to designate what happens to these things
Mhm.
if the society dissolves.
All right, and you have two separate things. You've got
Because those are
commission and
not,
the historical.
those are not town-owned properties at this point in time. But they
So
could go
everything
back
needs
to
be
that school.
cataloged.
Yeah, exactly, but they could go back into that school and specifically say, this is not, this belongs to the Coventry Historical Society. When we do it. And they're all big jobs,
Yeah, mhm.
Mm.
Yep.
so. But right now, the school's not ready to be open to the public. It needs a good cleaning and decide what would be going back into it. If anything, I mean, it could just stay as it is. And just say, this is a one-room schoolhouse. Just
So
think
there
of
are no-
Laura
so the
Ingalls.
Desks are out of there or the ones
Not
that are
all the
bolted to
desks.
the-
They
The ones
didn't,
that are bolted to the floor are still there.
they didn't want to
Correct.
ruin the floors, but pull them out.
Right.
Okay.
Thank God.
Yeah, so the ones that are bolted are still there. So think about it. We don't have to decide this tonight, but it's not gonna be open this weekend because there's nobody to open it and it's not ready to be open. Unless you want to just say this is a one-room school and that's it. So. And then like she's looking at museum grants, then maybe we could, I don't know what you can apply for a grant for.
We can't apply for a museum grant until we meet those requirements.
No, I realize that, but say in a
Yeah.
year from now, say we have,
Mhm.
then we could look at those museum grants again.
Yeah, there's a bunch of grants specific to museums.
Yeah.
I didn't look at any of them.
But
But
once
there's a
we,
lot more opportunities for those, for
Yeah.
money in that area.
yeah, so.
Okay.
Okay. And then I've got the map presentation because we did the George Madison map thing on Saturday and I wasn't there. Paul was, so Paul
Every
can
seat was
talk about it.
full.
Did you go?
I did.
Did you go?
The map presentation was very successful. We had 55 or 60 people there. And many of them stayed afterwards to talk and ask questions and were very interested in it. And I don't know what else to say, other than, I was very happy with the turnout and I'm always happy with Linda and Steve Cornatz. They do such a fantastic job presenting it that it makes very interesting. Plus, we had the added bonus of, for me, I guess, of having the two reporters there. All right, so the Journal Bulletin reporter was there because someone who has bought George Madison maps from me in the past is a friend of hers and told her about it. And part of her assignment with them is to do things on history stuff with the thing. And so I talked to her for quite a while there that day. And then I talked to her, I sent her a whole bunch of pictures. And I just said, look, here's a whole bunch. You choose what you feel you want to use in your story for that. But consequently, I've been inundated with people, well wishers and whatever that really, who've been to the others and who are interested in seeing more. So I can see that I'm not going to be done with giving these presentations for a little while. So anyway, it was good. Maybe
The article was in on Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday, yesterday,
yesterday, Wednesday.
yesterday,
It was
in the journal,
Wednesday,
Yeah, front page.
in the
Very
journal.
nice.
front page of the journal.
And the Times will be next week because
Yeah.
she was going on vacation. and She
She's
wanted to
getting
have,
married Saturday.
oh, she didn't say, she said she was gonna be away. Oh, well, that's a
Getting
good
married Saturday.
reason to go, so. But she said she didn't want to rush it. She wanted to
Right,
take time
right.
to,
So
so that, which is fine.
anyway,
So, I think that's good.
yep.
So you went?
I did.
Did you go again?
No, I wasn't. I was.
Did you get to go?
Was it on a Saturday?
Oh, you
No.
work. The next one's Halloween night
Oh.
But if
at PV.
Is that a
Yeah,
Saturday?
that's.
So
No,
no, it's a
but that-
Monday night, the 31st.
Mm.
But I caution everybody, there's limited seating. It's almost full already and they haven't even advertised it.
What time?
I believe it's gonna be at 7, but I mean, that's not for me to say, I'm just going by what they normally do, because it is their normal meeting night. So they're gonna just deal with their stuff
Where is
early.
this?
PV.
Oh.
Patuxent Crompton.
I
So-
I missed that.
But because from what I understand, first of all, there's probably at least 20 of them that are gonna go, from their group. They are streaming it, live streaming it, so their members can do it, but I just know that they're gonna do it by reservation. Because
We had, a lot-
unlike the community center, which can host a lot of people, their
That room
room
limited.
is limited to 55
Like
by
when
the
they-
fire
When
code.
that conservator
Right.
spoke there,
Yep.
that room was full.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
You already saw it, so you're not worried about it, but I mean, if you're gonna go, and again, I know you know everybody, so you just should tell them if you're going to,
Okay. Is there
like
any-
you two.
No, I know, and I
But-
gotta
Yeah,
contact somebody, I don't know who. So is there anything else?
nope,
We
I make
do
a motion to
No, no,
adjourn.
no, we gotta do public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Nobody's on.
Nobody wants to talk to us? It was always Sandy who was there.
Yeah,
Hmm, but
okay,
anyway,
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?